The ceiling fan made that same annoying squeaking sound it had been making for weeks. Round and round it went, pushing the hot summer air around the small apartment like it was trying to cool down a volcano. Alex lay on his back, staring at the spinning blades, counting each rotation because sleep seemed impossible. It was another one of those nights when the city just wouldn't cool down. Even at 11 in the evening, the temperature outside was still in the high 80s. The old apartment building had no air conditioning, and the single window unit in the living room had given up working 2 days ago. Alex had been meaning to call the repair guy, but between his crazy work schedule and everything else going on, he just hadn't found the time. He rolled over and checked his phone again. Still no message from Riley. She had texted him around 6, saying she would be home late from her evening fitness class. That was 5 hours ago. Alex knew better than to worry too much. Riley was always busy with her new job at the wellness center downtown. She had been working there for about 3 months now, and it seemed like every week brought new responsibilities and longer hours. The irony wasn't lost on him. Here he was, working as a nurse at the city hospital, pulling double shifts almost every day for the past 3 weeks, and Riley was doing the same thing in her own field. They were like two ships passing in the night, both exhausted, both trying to build something better for their future together. Alex's scrubs were still damp with sweat from his shift. He had meant to change when he got home, but the moment his head hit the pillow, his body just gave up. The green cotton felt sticky against his skin, and he could smell the hospital on his clothes. That familiar mix of cleaning products and stress that seemed to follow him everywhere. These days, the apartment was quiet, except for the fan and the occasional car passing by on the street below. Their neighbor upstairs was playing music again, but it was soft enough not to be annoying. Alex actually found it kind of comforting. It meant he wasn't completely alone in this hot, sticky night. He thought about the day he'd had. Room 312 had been particularly difficult. An elderly man who reminded him of his own grandfather had been admitted with chest pains. The family had been there all day, taking turns sitting by his bedside, whispering prayers and holding his hand. Alex had watched them during his breaks, remembering how his own family had done the same thing when his grandfather was sick. That was the thing about working in healthcare that nobody talks about. You don't just take care of patients, you become part of their story, even if it's just for a few hours or a few days. See people at their most vulnerable moments, and somehow you have to stay strong for them while dealing with your own emotions. Alex had been good at his job before, but these past few weeks had been different. Maybe it was the summer heat making everyone more irritable, or maybe it was just bad timing, but every day seemed to bring new challenges. More patients, more paperwork, more families looking at him with hope in their eyes, expecting him to have answers he didn't always have. He picked up his phone again and scrolled through his messages. His mom had texted earlier asking if he was eating enough. His best friend from college had sent a funny video. Riley's last message was still there, unchanged. Running late tonight? Don't wait up. Love you. The thing was, Alex always waited up. Not because he didn't trust Riley, but because he slept better when she was there. Her presence in the bed next to him had become like a security blanket. The way she breathed when she slept. The way she unconsciously moved closer to him during the night. The way she always seemed to know when he was having a bad dream and would gently wake him up. They had been together for almost 2 years now, and Alex still couldn't believe how lucky he was. Riley was the kind of person who made everyone around her feel better just by being there. She had this natural ability to stay calm in stressful situations, which was probably why she was so good at her job. Teaching yoga and fitness classes required patience and the ability to make people feel comfortable. And Riley had both in abundance. But lately, Alex had noticed something different about her. She seemed more tired than usual, more distracted. When he asked her about it, she would just smile and say she was fine, that the new job was just taking some getting used to. Alex wanted to believe her, but he knew Riley well enough to sense when something was bothering her. The fan continued its squeaky rotation above his head. Alex closed his eyes and tried to focus on his breathing, a technique Riley had taught him from her yoga classes. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Count to 4 on the inhale, count to 6 on the exhale. It usually helped him relax. But tonight his mind kept wandering. He thought about their plans for the weekend. They had talked about going to the lake, maybe having a picnic, spending some quality time together without the distractions of work and responsibilities. But Alex knew that if the hospital called him in for another shift, he would have to go. They were short-staffed, and he couldn't let his colleagues down. The clock on the nightstand glowed 11:47 p.m. Alex's body felt heavy, like he was sinking into the mattress. His eyelids were getting heavier, and the squeaking of the fan was starting to sound more like a lullaby than an annoyance. Maybe sleep would come after all, as consciousness began to fade. Alex's last thought was about Riley. He hoped she was having a good evening, that her class had gone well, and that she would be home soon. Tomorrow would bring another long day, another chance to make a difference in someone's life, another opportunity to grow stronger together. The fan kept spinning, the city kept humming, and Alex finally drifted off to sleep, unaware that his night was about to take an unexpected turn. Something was pulling Alex from the depths of sleep. Not a sound, not a light, but something else. It's a warmth that hadn't been there before. His mind felt foggy, like he was swimming up from the bottom of a deep pool, trying to reach the surface. But moving through thick water, the digital clock beside his bed glowed green in the darkness. 2:47 a.m. Alex blinked several times, trying to clear his vision. The numbers seemed to float in front of him, and for a moment he wondered if he was still dreaming. But the squeaky fan was still spinning above him, and the heat in the room was still oppressive. Then he felt it again. Wait. Pressure on his chest. Something warm and solid pressing down on him. Alex's eyes adjusted slowly to the darkness. The streetlight outside their window cast long shadows across the room, creating patches of dim light and deep darkness. As his vision cleared, he saw a silhouette above him. Someone was sitting on him, straddling his waist. His heart jumped, and for a split second, panic shot through his body. Who was in their apartment? How did someone get in? But before he could react, before he could even think about what to do, recognition dawned on him. It was Riley. She was sitting on top of him, her legs on either side of his body, her hands placed flat on his chest. But something was wrong. Very wrong. Even in the dim light, he could see that her face was different. Her skin looked wet, almost glowing with perspiration. Her hair was damp and stuck to her forehead and neck. Riley, Alex whispered, his voice rough from sleep. The word came out as barely more than a breath. She looked down at him, and Alex felt his heart skip a beat. Eyes were wide, almost wild-looking. They seemed to catch what little light there was in the room, making them appear to shine. She was breathing hard, her chest rising and falling rapidly, like she had just finished running a marathon. Alex tried to sit up, but Riley's weight on his chest made it difficult. She wasn't heavy, but she was positioned in a way that pinned him down. Her workout clothes were soaked with sweat, and he could feel the dampness seeping through his scrubs. "Riley, what's wrong?" he asked, more awake now, concern replacing the confusion in his voice. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out, just quick, shallow breaths. Her hands on his chest were trembling slightly, and Alex could feel her heartbeat through her palms. It was racing, beating so fast it seemed impossible. The room felt smaller suddenly, the air thicker. The fan continued. Its lazy rotation, but it seemed to be moving slower now, less effective against the heat that seemed to be radiating from Riley's body. Alex could smell her familiar perfume mixed with something else. Fear, maybe, or stress.
Oh.
The kind of scent that comes from someone who has been pushed beyond their limits. Hey, look at me, Alex said softly, trying to keep his voice calm, even though his own heart was starting to race. Just look at me and breathe, okay? Riley's eyes focused on his face, and Alex saw something there that made his stomach tighten. She looked scared, not just worried or stressed, but genuinely frightened. Her breathing wasn't slowing down. If anything, it seemed to be getting faster. Alex had seen this before at the hospital. Patients who came in with panic attacks, there. Bodies in fight or flight mode, their minds convinced that something terrible was happening even when they were physically safe. The rapid breathing, the sweating, the wide eyes. All the signs were there. "Riley, I need you to try to slow down your breathing," Alex said, slipping into the calm, professional tone he used at work. "You're safe. You're home. You're with me." nodded slightly, but her breathing didn't change. Small droplets of sweat were falling from her face onto his chest. Alex could feel the coolness of each drop as it hit his skin, a strange contrast to the heat radiating from her body. "I can't," she whispered finally, her voice barely audible. "I can't breathe." The words sent a chill through Alex despite the heat in the room. He had heard those words before, in hospital rooms, in emergency situations. But hearing them from Riley, seeing her in this state, was completely different. This wasn't a patient he was trained to help. This was the person he loved most in the world, and she was in distress. "Yes, you can," Alex said firmly, but gently. "You're breathing right now. I can see you breathing. But I need you to try to make each breath a little deeper, a little slower." Riley's hands pressed harder against his chest, and Alex realized she was trying to steady herself. Her whole body was shaking now, small tremors that seemed to come from deep inside her. The wetness on her face wasn't just sweat, Alex realized. There were tears mixed in. "How long have you been home?" Alex asked, trying to distract her to get her talking. "I don't know," Riley gasped. Maybe an hour. "I came in and saw you sleeping, and I just I couldn't." Her words trailed off as another wave of whatever was happening to her took hold. Alex watched helplessly as her breathing became even more erratic. He wanted to hold her, to comfort her, but her position on top of him made it impossible to do, much more than place his hands on her thighs, trying to provide some kind of anchoring touch. The apartment felt like it was closing in around them. The darkness, the heat, the sound of Riley's labored breathing, the weight of her body on his chest. Alex's mind raced, trying to figure out what to do, how to help her. He had training for this kind of situation, but all his medical knowledge seemed to disappear when it came to someone he cared about. "Riley, I'm going to help you," Alex said, his voice steady despite the chaos in his mind. "We're going to get through this together, but I need you to trust me, okay?" She nodded again, her eyes never leaving his face, as if he were the only solid thing in a world that had suddenly become uncertain and frightening. The minutes stretched out like hours. Alex kept his hands on Riley's legs, feeling the tremors that ran through her body. Her breathing was still fast and shallow, but he could sense she was trying to follow his instructions. Every few seconds, she would take a slightly deeper breath, hold it for a moment, then let it out slowly. "That's good," Alex whispered. "It's just like that, in and out. You're doing great." Riley's eyes stayed locked on his face. In the dim light, Alex could see the fear slowly starting to fade, replaced by something else. Exhaustion, maybe, or relief. The wild look in her eyes was softening, and her breathing was gradually becoming more controlled. "Can you tell me what happened?" Alex asked gently. "When you came home, what made you feel this way?" Riley shook her head slightly, then winced, as if the movement hurt. "I don't know," she said, her voice stronger now, but still shaky. "I walked in, and everything just felt wrong, like the walls were closing in." Alex nodded, encouraging her to continue. He had learned at the hospital that sometimes talking through an episode could help people understand what triggered it. Understanding was the first step to healing. The apartment felt so hot, Riley continued, wiping sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. "And it was so quiet. I looked at you sleeping there, and you looked so peaceful. I thought maybe if I just sat next to you for a minute, I would feel better." She paused, taking another deep breath. Alex could feel her body relaxing slightly, the rigid tension in her muscles starting to ease. "But then I started thinking about everything. Work, money, the future. All the things we never seem to have time to talk about anymore. And suddenly, I couldn't breathe. Felt like someone was sitting on my chest, crushing me." The irony wasn't lost on Alex. Here was Riley, literally sitting on his chest, describing the feeling of being crushed. But he didn't say anything. This wasn't the time for observations. This was the time for listening. "So you climbed on top of me?" Alex asked, not judgmentally, just trying to understand. Riley's cheeks flushed, even in the darkness. "I know it. Sounds crazy," she said quickly, "but you were breathing so steadily, so calmly. I thought maybe if I could feel your chest moving, if I could match my breathing to yours, it would help." Like when you're trying to calm down a scared animal by staying very still and quiet. Alex felt something shift inside his chest. Not physical, but emotional. Here was this person he loved so much, dealing with something he had never even known about, and she had turned to him for comfort. Not to wake him up, not to burden him with her problems, but just to be near him. How long has this been happening? Alex asked softly. Riley looked away for a moment, then back at his face. A few weeks, she admitted, maybe a month. At first I thought it was just stress from the new job. You know how it is when you're learning everything and trying to prove yourself. Alex knew exactly how it was. He remembered his first months at the hospital, the constant worry that he was making mistakes, the pressure to be perfect all the time. But then it started happening at home too, Riley continued. Usually at night, when everything was quiet, and I had time to think. I would lie in bed next to you and my mind would just start racing. All these thoughts about what if something happens to you? What if I'm not good enough at my job? What if we can't pay the bills? The words came out in a rush, like a dam had burst. Alex realized this was probably the first time Riley had said any of this out loud. She had been carrying all of this alone, just like he had been carrying his own stress from work. Why didn't you tell me? Alex asked, though he already knew the answer. Because you have enough to worry about, Riley said, exactly as he had expected. You're working so hard, taking care of so many people. You come home exhausted every day, and the last thing you need is me falling apart. Alex felt a pang of guilt. He had been so focused on protecting Riley from his own stress that he had created an environment where she felt she couldn't share hers. They had both been trying so hard to be strong for each other that they had forgotten how to be vulnerable together. Riley, Alex said firmly, I need you to listen to me. You are not falling apart. You're dealing with something that millions of people deal with, and you found a way to cope with it. It's maybe not a conventional way, but it worked. Riley's breathing had returned to normal now, though she was still sitting on his chest. The weight of her body felt different now, less urgent, more grounded, like she was choosing to be there rather than being driven there by panic. I felt so stupid, she said quietly, climbing on top of you like that. But your heartbeat was so steady, and your breathing was so calm. It was like you were this anchor in the middle of a storm. You're not stupid, Alex said. You're resourceful. You found what you needed to feel safe, and you went for it. That takes courage. Riley smiled for the first time since he had woken up. It was a small smile, tired and a little sad, but it was real. I don't feel very courageous right now. Courage isn't about not being scared, Alex said, remembering something one of his instructors had told him during nursing school. It's about being scared and doing what you need to do anyway. You've been dealing with this for weeks, going to work, taking care of your responsibilities, trying to protect me from your worries. That's not weakness, Riley. That's strength. The fan above them continued its squeaky rotation, but somehow the sound seemed less annoying now. The heat in the room was still oppressive, but it felt more bearable. Maybe Alex thought it was just easier to handle difficult things when you weren't trying to handle them alone. The room felt different now, not just cooler, though the heat seemed less overwhelming somehow. It felt safer, like a place where secrets could be shared without judgment, where two people could finally stop pretending everything was perfect. Riley shifted slightly, adjusting her position but not moving away. Alex could feel that she was more relaxed now, her body no longer rigid with panic. The trembling had stopped, and her breathing was almost back to normal. But neither of them seemed ready to end this strange, intimate moment. I've been having nightmares, Alex said quietly, surprising himself with the admission. The words just came out, like Riley's honesty had opened a door he didn't know existed. Riley looked down at him with curiosity. About what?
About work.
Mostly, but not the way you'd think. Alex stared up at the ceiling, watching the fan blades spin in their endless circle. I dream about coming home and finding you gone, or about you getting hurt and me not being able to help you. Sometimes I dream that I'm at the hospital and you're the patient and I can't remember how to do my job. Riley's hand moved to his cheek, her fingers cool against his skin. You never told me? Same reason you didn't tell me about the panic attacks, Alex said with a small smile. I didn't want to worry you. You already deal with enough stress at work without me adding to it. But that's what we're supposed to do, Riley said softly. We're supposed to share these things with each other. That's what being together means. Alex reached up and covered her hand with his. I know that in my head, but knowing something and doing it are different things. When I see you working so hard trying to build your career, I want to be the person who makes your life easier, not harder. Riley was quiet for a moment, processing this. The apartment around them was still and peaceful now, like the whole world had paused to give them this time to talk. You know what's funny? Riley said finally. I've been so worried about bothering you with my problems that I stopped telling you about the good things too. When something nice happens at work, or when I have a good day, I don't share it because I'm afraid you'll think I'm being silly or that you're too tired to care. This hit Alex harder than he expected. He realized he had been doing the same thing. When he had a good day at the hospital, when he helped someone or made a difference, he kept it to himself. Somewhere along the way, they had both stopped sharing their lives with each other. We're kind of terrible at this, aren't we? Alex said with a laugh. Riley laughed too, and the sound was like sunlight breaking through clouds. The worst. Here we are, two people who love each other, and we've been living like roommates who occasionally sleep in the same bed. When did we start doing that? Alex asked, though he already knew the answer. It had been gradual, so slow that neither of them had noticed it happening. First, they stopped talking about small problems, not wanting to bother each other. Then they stopped, sharing small victories, not wanting to seem like they were bragging or adding pressure. Before they knew it, they were living parallel lives instead of a shared one. I think it started when we both got so busy, Riley said. We were both so focused on not being a burden that we forgot how to be a team. Alex squeezed her hand. Miss being a team. Me too, Riley said. I miss telling you about my day and hearing about yours. I miss making plans together and talking about stupid things that don't matter to anyone but us. Like how the neighbor upstairs always plays the same song 3 times in a row, Alex said. Or how the barista at the coffee shop always draws a heart in your phone but never in mine, Riley added. They both smiled at these silly observations, kind of small details that couples share when they're really paying attention to each other's lives. I want to tell you something, Riley said, her voice more serious now. The panic attacks, they're not just about work stress. They're about us too. About being afraid that we're growing apart and not knowing how to fix it.
Alex felt his
heart tighten. Are we growing apart? I don't know, Riley said honestly, but I don't want to. I love you, Alex. Not just the easy parts of you, but all of you. The parts that worry and have nightmares and come home exhausted. I want to know about those parts too. I love you too, Alex said. All of you. Including the parts that have panic attacks and climb on top of sleeping people in the middle of the night. Riley laughed and Alex felt something loosen in his chest. You know what's weird? This is the longest conversation we've had in weeks, and it's happening at 3. In the morning, with me sitting on your chest. Maybe that's what we needed, Alex said. To be stuck in one position, where we couldn't run away or get distracted or find an excuse to avoid talking. Riley nodded.
Aldice.
No phones, no TV, no work emergencies. Just us, Alex agreed. They fell into a comfortable silence, but it was different from the silence they had been living in for weeks. This wasn't the silence of 2 people avoiding difficult conversations. This was the silence of 2 people who had said what needed to be said and were comfortable just being together. I don't want to move, Riley said quietly. And don't, Alex said. We can stay like this as long as you want. Your chest is probably getting sore. I don't care. And he didn't. For the first time in weeks, Alex felt completely present in the moment. No thoughts about tomorrow's shift. No worries about bills or responsibilities. Just him and Riley, finally being honest with each other, finally being real. The first hint of dawn was starting to creep through the window. Not real sunlight yet, just that subtle change in the darkness that meant morning was coming. Alex could see Riley's face more clearly now, and she looked peaceful in a way he hadn't seen in weeks. We should probably get some sleep, Riley said, but she made no move to get up. Probably, Alex agreed, also not moving. but I'm not tired anymore. It was strange but true. 20 minutes ago, Alex had been dead to the world, exhausted from weeks of difficult shifts. Now, he felt more awake and alert than he had in months. Not the jittery, coffee-fueled alertness he was used to, but a calm, centered feeling that came from finally understanding something important. "I have an idea," Alex said. "What if we made a deal?" "What kind of deal?" "Every night before we go to sleep, we tell each other one thing about our day. Not just the big stuff, but anything. Something funny, something frustrating, something that made us think. It's just one thing each." Riley considered this. "That seems too simple." "Maybe that's why it might work," Alex said. "We've been trying to protect each other from everything, and it's not working. Maybe we need to start small." "One thing each night," Riley repeated. "I like that. But what if one of us has a really bad day? What if the one thing is something scary or upsetting?" "Then we deal with it together," Alex said. "That's what we're supposed to do, right? Share the good stuff and the bad stuff." Riley nodded slowly. "Okay, but I want to add something to the deal. If either of us starts having a panic attack or a nightmare or just feels overwhelmed, we don't try to handle it alone. We wake up the other person if we need to. No more trying to be the strong one all the time." Alex thought about this. Idea of waking Riley up when he had a nightmare felt selfish, but he remembered how she had found comfort in his steady breathing tonight. Maybe they both needed to learn how to accept help as well as give it. "Deal," Alex said. "Promise to tell me if the panic attacks get worse or start happening more often. I want to help you figure out what triggers them." "Deal," Riley said. "And you have to promise to tell me when work is getting to you. I can see it in your face when you come home, but you always say you're fine." "I promise," Alex said, and he meant it. "But can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Tonight, when you climbed on top of me, did it actually help, or did it just make things worse?" Riley was quiet for a moment, thinking. "It helped," she said finally. "Your breathing was so steady, and your heartbeat was so calm. It was like you were this anchor in the middle of a storm. But I think what helped even more was that you didn't freak out when you woke up. You just immediately tried to help me." "I was trained for this kind of thing," Alex said. "But it's different when it's someone you love. I wanted to fix it instantly, make it go away." "You did fix it," Riley said. "Not the panic attack itself, but the feeling of being alone with it. That's what made it bearable." Alex felt something warm spread through his chest. He had helped her, not by solving her problem, but by being present with her while she solved it herself. There was something powerful about that idea. "You know what's funny?" Alex said. "I've been so worried about you not getting enough sleep. Because of my weird schedule, but you've been lying awake having panic attacks. And I've been so worried about adding to your stress that I didn't realize keeping secrets was actually more stressful for both of us," Riley said. They both laughed at the absurdity of it all. Two people who loved each other, both trying so hard to be perfect for each other that they had forgotten how to be real. "I think we're both overthinking this relationship thing," Alex said. "Definitely," Riley agreed. "But I think we're also both willing to figure it out." "I'm together," Alex said. "Together," Riley confirmed. The sky outside was getting lighter, and Alex could hear the first stirrings of the city waking up. Cars starting, birds beginning to sing, the distant sound of someone's alarm clock going off. Soon they would both have to get up and face another day of work and responsibilities. But for now, they were content to stay exactly where they were. Riley sitting on Alex's chest, both of them more connected than they had been in months, both of them finally understanding that being vulnerable with each other wasn't a weakness, but a strength. "I love you," Riley said, leaning down to kiss him gently. "I love you too," Alex said, meaning it more than he had in a long time. As the sun came up, they made a new plan, not a complicated one, just a simple commitment to share their lives with each other instead of trying to manage everything alone. Riley would tell Alex about her panic attacks, and he would tell her about his nightmares. They would check in with each other every day, not just about the big things, but about the small ones too. And if Riley needed to feel Alex's steady breathing to calm her anxiety, she would ask for it instead of suffering in silence. If Alex needed to talk through a difficult day at work, He would share it instead of carrying the weight alone. They had learned something important that night. Sometimes the most intimate moments don't happen during the good times. Sometimes they happen at 3 a.m. when one person is falling apart and the other person chooses to catch them. Sometimes they happen when you stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be real. The panic attack that had brought them together, in such an unusual way, had actually been a gift. It had forced them to be honest with each other, to stop pretending everything was fine when it wasn't, and to remember that they were supposed to be a team. As the morning light filled their bedroom, Alex and Riley finally understood that love wasn't about protecting each other from life's difficulties. It was about facing those difficulties together, supporting each other through them, and finding strength in their connection rather than in their independence. And that was a lesson worth learning. Even if it came at 3 a.m. with someone sitting on your chest,